recording, we want to turn off your microphones to be the best. So I will just say a few words about the Associate Professor Corrado Camera, which he's going to present today the data-driven models for digital soil mapping and landside susceptibility assessments and their integration with Earth observation. So Corrado has a bachelor and a master's in geology and a PhD in earth sciences. All his degrees, he took them from the University in degli Studi di Milano, University of Milan. Corrado, after finishing his PhD in 2012, he came to Cyprus and worked in Cyprus Institute initially as a post-doctoral researcher and then as an associate researcher. Corrado's main focus is on, from the perspective I met him, it was in hydrological processes, but he also has a great expertise in landslides, which he will show later on. And Corrado, in 2023, he became an associate professor in the University of Milano, and now he's mostly focusing in hydrological processes, but also in the impact of these processes on landslides. And if I may say, because I know Corrado personally for 5 years in the Cyprus Institute and for 13 years as a person, I can tell you not only that he's an excellent scientist, but he's also a great person. So from what I say, you can move on to you, Corrado, to your presentation. It's around, the time's around 45 minutes, so the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Marinos, for the introduction and the nice words. So, as the title that Marinos already read, we are focusing on data-driven models, and I'm going to present 2 different case studies, one related to the digital soil map of Cyprus, and the other one related to the landslide susceptibility assessment that we conducted with a PhD of mine in Valchiavenna, which is a valley in northern Italy. So just to remind what a data-driven model is. So a data-driven model is a model that rely heavily on historical data and establish relationship between some of these historical data that are considered as input predictors and some other data that are considered as a target variable. Data-driven model, let's say historically or initially, were mainly just statistical models, but let's say with the advent of large computational capacity and the development of artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms, they have evolved and gain a lot of interest in the scientific community. Also because this type of algorithms really allow to analyze a huge quantity of data in quite a short period of time, especially if we compare them with physically based model. The idea that behind this presentation is yes, to present you these 2 case studies, but also focusing on all the data preparation and all the model evaluation that comes, let's say, together with this, together with the use of these algorithms. So the first study, as said, is the digital soil map of Cyprus. So this is a study that was developed in the framework of an RPF project at Water. So I work on this clearly when I was at the Cyprus Institute, and it is published in Geoderm. So the main objective of this study was to extend prediction from 1 to 25,000 legacy soil surveys to the larger area of Cyprus. So this means that we had maps coming from especially field activity, covering just a small part of Cyprus, and we wanted to extend these maps to the whole area. We decided to do this through a digital approach, and in particular, we decided to test and carry out the work applying random forest algorithm. So the first specific objective was to analyze the role and importance of a large data set of environmental predictors, and then, of course, investigate all the effect of all the different parameters that characterize the random forest algorithm on the prediction, and then compare these random forest derived maps with multinomial logistic regression, which was, let's say, the baseline algorithm that was used for digital soil mapping. So the idea was to select predictors that could reproduce the physical processes that are behind the formation of soils. So we started from the quite famous Scorpan function that was proposed by McBratney in 2003, which says that soil formation is a function of soil properties, climate, organism, relief, parental material, age, and of course the spatial position. So we recognized predictors, environmental variables that could describe each one of these characteristics, and this data, of course, could come from merging field information and remote sensing information. What was particularly interesting and kind of new in comparison to the digital soil mapping studies that had been proposed since then was the use of geochemical indicators in the study, and this was actually possible because of the atlas, the geochemical atlas of Cyprus that was published in 2011, if I'm correct. So as you can see, these geochemical indices represent ratios. In practice, yes, ratios of the relative abundance of these different compounds and elements. No? And so this is the setting that I was telling you before. So we had maps, actual maps in these orange locations, on these orange areas, and our target was to extend the mapping to the Republic of Cyprus. The maps, so the soil map of Cyprus, or at least the 10 sheets that were available, were published in 1999, and they were, these sheets were carrying information about the soil groups, the soil depth classes, and the soil texture classes. Some information about soil depth and soil texture was also available from the land suitability maps, and some information also from geological maps. So I'm not showing it here, but especially for soil depth and soil texture, there was also a large part of work that dealt with the homogenization of all the information that we could collect from the different maps available all over Cyprus. The other data that we had available were independent soil profiles, again conducted or for the development of the land suitability map of Cyprus, or in the framework of a master thesis project of this Robbins fellow. So these profiles actually included information only about soil depth and soil texture. So this is the flow chart of the work. So we started with variable pre-screening, so analyzing the correlation between variables, so just to see if we could reduce the environmental predictor that we wanted to use in the analysis. So and then, of course, we started with the optimization of the random forest algorithm, the selection of the best set of predictors, then the comparison between the random forest maps with the multinomial logistic regression maps, and at the end, the model evaluation based on different measures. So already from the correlation analysis, so the correlation analysis was a really useful step, also quite easy to carry it out, to reduce the variable space. So we noticed very strong correlation among different variables, and I mean, it's true that random forest can supposedly deal with this correlation that exists between variables that you feed within the model, but in any case, so the variable are carrying the same type of information, and so it's in any case a sort of redundant, and reducing the variable space allows also for some kind of reduction in terms of overfitting, and of course also in a reduction of computational time. So if we think of the original maps that we had available as points over 25 per 25 square meter dams, we ended up with 2 million cells of input data. And so, of course, I mean, then also defining 20 variables on 2 million cells became extremely computational extensive. So this step already helped. For those of you who doesn't know random forest, so random forest construct a forest of decision trees. So if we start from a certain amount of training data, it randomly selects 2/3 of this data, and it constructs a tree based on this 2/3 of the data. And then the other third of data is already used in this function out of bag for an internal validation of the classification that the tree is actually carrying out. And then let's say this training data, so this 2/3 of the training data are actually, I mean, a certain amount of variable is selected to do the splits, and so this amount of variables is set by this mtry parameter. So every time that a split is done, so we are branching out, just a limited amount of predictors is used, not all of them. So we can specify which is this number with the mtry, and also in this case, at every split, this number of so the this number of parameter is extracted randomly. And so it creates this split, and at the end we arrive at having the whole forest. So what did we try as optimization of the algorithm? So selecting the number of trees and the number of training points, a recursive elimination of predictors based on the importance that each predictors have in splitting, so in recognizing, let's say, the different branches, and of course on the internal validation error. Then calibrating the number of parameters that the number of variables that are selected at each split, and the node size parameters that tells us how much the tree is developed. So how much values we do have at the terminal leaf. So for soil groups, soil texture, and soil depth, we always, at the end, we ended up with 10 variables each, with an m-try parameter of 5 and node size of 1, and we selected a number of trees equal to 350 and 50% of the data. So here, this table show, let's say, the importance of the different group of variables or the single variables when we remove them from the model. So we recursively removed one group of variable or a single variable, and then we observed how the out-of-bag error and how the out-of-bag error was modified. So actually, if the error increases, it means that the group of variable or the single variable is explaining some of the variance. But if the value is close to 0 or negative, this means that the variable is probably overfitting or creating noise. So this brought us to remove these variables for the soil groups and these other variables for soil texture and soil depth map. So that from, so we had 20, and then with the correlation analysis, we started with 13 variables inside the random forest model. And after this analysis, we came out with just 10 variables for each prediction. We compared, as said, the random forest outputs with the multinomial logistic regression. That is just a generalization of binomial logistic regression. And so it's actually calculating the probability of each class to occur given a certain environmental predictors values. We, as said, evaluated the maps both in terms of error, hit rate in comparison to the independent soil profiles, and the confusion index. So of course the error, the larger the error, the worse is the prediction. For the confusion index, the closer this value is to 1, so the higher the confusion index, the higher is the confusion. And this is calculated so with this formula, where the mu max is the probability of occurrence of the class that show the highest probability, and this mu max minus 1 is the probability of occurrence of the second highest class. So of course, if this value, so if this difference is 0, so this value is 1, it means that the classification is cannot really decide if it's class 1 or class 2. So based, let's say, on these indices, so we actually found out, yes, that random forest perform best of multinomial logistic regression, especially in terms of error, but also for confusion index in soil depth and soil texture, while they were very close in terms of soil groups. So this is the map that we produced, but in terms, yes, of soil groups, and this in terms of soil depth classes and soil texture. So we noticed, let's say, some issues with the prediction. So we noticed very large differences in the error between different classes, and actually the least represented classes are usually the one with the smallest hit ratio, so with the largest error if compared with the independent soil profiles, while the most represented are those with the best hit ratio. So this means that there is a tendency of the model to predict the classes that occur more frequently. So given this tendency, so we tried to understand also which could be the reliability of our prediction, calculating this index, the multivariate environmental similarity surface, that actually tells us how much each pixel that we are going to predict is similar or dissimilar to the values of the environmental predictors in the training set. So the lower is this value, the more dissimilar is the point, the prediction point in comparison to the training point. While, of course, the larger it is, so the more similar it is. And this analysis actually pointed out that, especially in the Troodos Mountains, we had large areas where the model was completely extrapolating. So where this value is negative, it's pure extrapolation. And so this also means now that the reliability of this map in those areas is, of course, smaller than where we have this mass value showing larger numbers. So I would say that the main conclusion of this study was to underline the importance of having good observational data. So the importance of the geochemical variable for the soil map was extremely evident, and this was possible only thanks to huge effort that was done in terms of field work. And the other thing is that I think we pointed out how important it is to actually analyze your output in terms of reliability. So I mean, of course, it's a model, and if you see the map and you see the map published, you tend to believe the map, but so you should always check which are the nodes, let's say, that are coming with the map. So of course, it's even over the Troodos Mountains, it gives a general idea of what the type of soil is, of what soil texture and soil depth are. But most probably the model is masking the local variability. So moving to the second part, so this study that I'm going to show you about landslide susceptibility is part of Greta Baini's PhD, and okay, I will. So on this we actually publish a series of paper. But I'm focusing on this one that deal with assessing the utility of regionalized rock mass geomechanical properties in rockfall susceptibility model. So let's say that the general, the overarching goal of the PhD of Greta was the development of a systematic procedure capable to promote and analyze the rock of both rock mass geomechanical setting and climatic processes in rockfall susceptibility in alpine environments. So we analyzed, let's say, the importance of the geomechanical setting in one study area and the importance of climatic processes in another one. And okay, today we are focusing on the part of the geomechanical setting. But let's say that the procedures and the analysis are sort of extremely similar. So for those of you who are not very familiar with landslides and landslide susceptibility, I've also added definitions of rockfalls and landslide susceptibility. So when we are talking of rockfalls, we are talking about fast-moving landslides type that are usually triggered from subvertical cliffs and have a downslope motion that is characterized by free falling. So this fast-moving subvertical cliff and free falling are kind of typical aspects of rockfalls, and I mean, this is a type of landslides that have a lot of interest, both for scientists, but also for administrative offices, municipalities, regions, and whatnot, because due to the high energy and mobility of this landslides type, these are those that most often cause damages to infrastructures and the human environment, human-built environment in general. In terms of for susceptibility, we intend the probability of spatial occurrence of slope failure. So susceptibility is the spatial component of the hazard. No? So when we talk of natural hazards, of hazard of a certain phenomena, we are talking about the probability of occurrence of a certain phenomena with a certain intensity, a certain volume in a specific period of time. So in this case, so with the landslide susceptibility, we are taking out, let's say, the information about the specific volume, but particularly we are taking out the information about the specific period of time. No? So this is an analysis that is telling you how prone a certain area is to produce a certain type of landslides, but it's not telling you anything about, let's say, the return period of this landslide. So in terms of specific objectives, so the first one was to select, in this case, the geomechanical properties relevant for rockfall occurrence, and synthesize them in usable distributed predictors, so in something that we can use within a data-driven model. Second objective was to verify the suitability and completeness of the available input data. So we want to understand if the data that we have are sufficient to carry out the analysis that we intend to do. And then analyze the role, importance, and behavior of the predictors, the environmental predictors that we are going to introduce in the analysis. And then, of course, determine the consequences of selecting different susceptibility modeling algorithms. So, as said, this case study was carried out in Valchiavenna. So we are in northern Italy, as said, just north of Como Lake, and the focus is on the geomechanical settings. Geologically, we are in the Alps, so we are north of the Insubric lines, so we are in the northern Alps, and from what you can see here, so it is an area that is very active, both from a tectonical point of view, so it's plenty of major faults, but it is also an area, as you can see in this other image, that was affected by glaciations. So we have these two components. So the tectonic aspect on one side that, of course, acted over the valley, over geological eras, and then we have the effect of the glaciations that instead occurred over a period of tens of thousands of years. And in this image, you can also see from the areas in green that in this region, so there are a lot of areas that are recognized as deep-seated gravitational slope deformation. So this means that these areas are areas that move very slowly, but are moving along very deep failure surface, and yes, they are moving maybe at a rate of 1 or few millimeters per year, but this means that all these slopes are moving. And of course, when these large slopes are moving, you have also secondary phenomena like rockfalls that can occur at the surface. So there is a deep movement like 80, 100, 200 meter deep inside the slope, and then associated to this slope deep movement, you have secondary movements that occur at the surface. So why did we focus on Valchiavenna? This is because since 2002, there is a detached facility of our department in Valchiavenna, and so through time, we had a lot of projects running in the area with the possibility of really collect a consistent amount of data. So we had data concerning geomorphological detail maps. So this actually from field surveys and direct field surveys done by PhD and postdocs that worked at the Stazione Valchiavenna. We had, a geological map that is actually being updated in the last 3 years, a geomechanical database, and some data remote sensing data. So in this case, so we the idea was to exploit especially the geomechanical database that we had available with all the information throughout Valchiavenna in the area. So of course this information, this database was related to points that were widespread all over Valchiavenna, and so the idea was to regionalize, first of all, the point data into maps that we could use for spatial predictions. Then, of course, we used these maps for developing a susceptibility model, and we did it testing 2 different algorithms in this case, so a generalized additive model and again random forest, and then we coupled, let's say, we put together the information that were coming from the generalized additive model and the random forest, and also we coupled the model output result with the information that we collect from the satellite data, and we came out with some operative maps. Of course, there was also an attempt to recognize and exploit uncertainty in every step of the procedure. So the variable that we selected in terms of geomechanical predictors are the joint volumetric count, the equivalent permeability, and the weathering index. So the joint volumetric count, it's a measure that tell you how many fractures you have in a certain volume of rock. Of course, we expect now that the highest is the number of fracture, the more prone a certain slope, a certain cliff should be to trigger rock falls. And then we have the permeability of the rock and the weathering index. So how much a certain rock mass is permeable. So how much is how easy it is for water to circulate within the rock mass, and how weathered a certain rock mass is. So we had the possibility to extend also our database, partly with master thesis and partly with the fieldwork that Greta carried out for her PhD. So we selected 25 new survey points to add to the geodatabase, the geomechanical database that already existed. We did this using an algorithm to optimize, let's say, the location of the survey point, and this is, again, is a technique, this spatial simulated annealing, that is usually used in digital soil mapping, and in this case we recycled, let's say, the procedure and the methodology to recognize the point for carrying out the geomechanical surveys. once we had all the data, of course, we regionalized them through geostatistical methods. So we tested several methods, and these methods, of course, were validated for error and performance evaluation with a leave one out cross validation, so that we could select, let's say, the best approach to regionalize the data. So we came out with maps for JVUs, or for the fracturing that we regionalize with ordinary creasing and anisotropic ordinary creasing. For the weathering index, we selected an isotropic ordinary creasing, and for the equivalent permeability, the thin plate SP line. So actually, we verified that adding these 25 points to the already existing database, we decreased the variance, let's say, all over the area. So actually, the points were well distributed and really allowed to obtain better maps in comparison than if we have used just the database that was available at the beginning of the study. In the susceptibility model, elements prone to infiltration. So one, adding the geomechanical variables to the topographic variables, and then adding also geological classes to the optimized topographic and geomechanical model. So what we observed is that these plots, I don't know if you are actually familiar with GAMS or not. So these plots are called component smoothing functions, and they are actually explaining the relationship that each variable has with susceptibility. So on the x-axis, you have the value of the different environmental predictors, and on the y-axis, the associated value of susceptibility. So this means, for example, that if we take the JVU, which is the fracturing index, we see that susceptibility increases when the fracturing increases, which is actually geomorphological plausible. And also for infiltration density, we see that generally speaking, the susceptibility increases up to a certain asymptotic value when the infiltration density increases. So actually, these plots really allow to control which is the behavior of each predictor within the model, and actually verify if this predictor is assuming a behavior that is physically plausible. No? So also for slope, you see that if slope increases, the susceptibility increases. So if, maybe for wrong mapping of the landslides point or whatever else, we could have observed a decreasing value. No? So this would have set a sort of alert and brought to either exclude the variable from the model or to re-evaluate the input points. So if we also go and check, let's say, which is the difference between the two maps, we can, so the three maps, so the maps produced with just the topographic variable, adding the geomechanical variable, and then also the geological variable, is that generally speaking, with the geomechanical predictors, we observe an increase in the susceptibility in all the areas that throughout the study area were mapped as active rockfalls or very broken rock masses. So just saying that the geomechanical predictors are adding physical plausibility to the maps, and you can actually see here the differences between the geomechanical map and the topographical map. So where the area is purple, it means that the susceptibility in the geomechanical map is much higher than in the topographic map. And we could actually see, and also these are A, B, and C area that you can see here. These are the plotted SAR movement values. So these are displacement values measured on the slope by satellites using a radar signal. And you can actually see that all this in all this area there are points that are either red, orange, or yellow, pointing out a quite fast movement of the slope that might be associated to deep-seated movement, but as we were saying before, the deep-seated movement is often associated with secondary activity at the surface through rockfall. And so also these data are actually confirming the goodness and the geomorphological physical plausibility of the maps. This slide is showing you a susceptibility map and component smoothing function derived using as input point only the data coming from the Italian landslide inventory. And as you can see, so the JVU is showing a decreasing function, and also the infiltration density for very high value is showing a decreasing function. So these are what we define physically distorted and unrealistic results. And so this is the problem that I was telling you before. So most probably this inventory has some bias, which is not recording events located most probably at very high elevation. This because this inventory is compiled mainly based on image analysis, so from remote sensing, and some reports that are communicated to municipalities. But these reports are usually connected to some damage to infrastructure that occur. And of course, they are all points that are mainly concentrated along the main valley axis where you have villages and infrastructures. Okay, here just to show something more about random forest. So, I mean, sometimes, there are critics, to machine learning algorithms, saying that they are sort of black box. But nowadays, so it has been derived this shapely values framework, so SHAP framework based on shapely values, that actually allows to look into the machine learning algorithm to come out with some dependence plots between the outcome and the predictor values. And so it is actually possible to derive plots that are very similar to the component smoothing functions that we have seen for GAMS, and this really helps to helps the interpretation of the models. Okay, these are the differences, let's say, between the random forest and generalized additive model maps. And so the idea here was to put the two maps together, so signaling areas that were mapped as very susceptible to landslides together, so having a sort of committee map. And this, again, put together with also SAR data, allows to recognize areas that could need intervention for protection from rockfall in the study area. So again, besides all the specific results that we managed to take out from this analysis, I would say that what emerges from the two case studies is that really the importance to prepare your input data, to select proper variables that can actually physically represent the processes that you want to reproduce with a data-driven model. I mean, although it is a data-driven model, we don't need to forget that what we are trying to reproduce, to simulate, are environmental processes. So we need to make sure that our model is fed with proper variables, and that these variables are actually bringing into the model a signal that is physically plausible. And okay, here is just a reminder of where the second case study was carried out. So this was carried out in Val d'Aosta, so in the Western Alps. And okay, if you want to know more about this, you can find them in this publication. So with this, I'm done.
Thank you very much for the presentation of Corrado. Lots of information and very nice results. So I don't know, now we're moving to the questions. I don't know if there are any questions from the participants. Anyone? Actually, I have a question, Corrado, for the first presentation over Cyprus.
Yes.
There you found that slope, if I'm not mistaken, slope and aspect are not important parameters, so you neglect them from the final model, let's say. But
yes.
Okay, we discussed it in the past as well, but from the training samples there, I can see that Troodos Mountain was not included. So if we had training samples from Troodos to train the model, will these parameters consider important, or?
I'm not sure about it. I believe that I mean the reason why these parameters, so these environmental predictors, resulted as I mean let's say, not significant or not extremely important is because elevation is carrying out or taking in the model most of the information and most of the variance related to the relief group of covariates. So I believe that, yeah, there might be, so if we think probably of a specific soil map for Troodos, so with especially, I mean, the peculiarity related to terraced slopes, it might be that slope could bring extra information on top of elevation. I'm saying this, yes, mainly other than soil groups and soil texture, because of course, I mean, in that case, so where you have terraces, the slope is actually reduced, and so I expect soil depth to increase, maybe, I mean, of one class, so passing from 0 to shallow, or even moderate to deep. So in any case, not above 1 meter of soil depth. But that is it's a very specific case, and I believe you would need very specific and well-selected training areas to see this to see this behavior and to model this behavior.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the audience?
Yes, Marino, can I ask a question?
This
is a very interesting talk, and especially the first part on the map of Cyprus has been very useful for us, Corrado. And I was wondering about in terms of actual uses by farmers. Do you think that for some areas, you know, the results are at the level where one farmer, for example, can decide which crops this soil type would be suitable for, and the characteristics of the soil, I mean the physiochemical characteristics. So can this be used to limit, to lower the number of samples that need to be taken for soil analysis for practical uses?
Well, I believe that, yeah, thanks for the question. So I believe that, yeah, along the coast and in the Mesauria plain, the map is pretty reliable. So yeah, I do believe that some kind of general information can absolutely be derived from the map. I mean, especially, I don't know if there are, let's say, an unused area, and I don't know, well, a farmer is thinking about expanding or buying new land. I think so. This can give the farmer an idea of what is gonna find. Then, in terms of, I mean, chemicals, nutrients, and I mean, this might depend also on season, on interannual variability. So of course, I would suggest in any case to carry out some specific chemical analysis. But so I would say it can give general information, but not specific ones.
Okay, but I think that's good enough, because then you know, there are cases where this is very, very useful. Thank you very much.
To add to the question of Menelaus, so Corrado, we have many researchers and PhD students which are very passionate in groups, and that they will focus on soil as well. So, if I would ask you, what you will need to change in the model or so on, or in the whole methodological steps that you did in order to improve the soil map, what would you have suggested that we need to do?
Okay, so I would say that so it's possible to improve the understanding of the map, maybe running, as I've shown for the other case study, a SHAP analysis, which is actually possible to apply also to classification studies. So, I mean, in landslide susceptibility was a binomial analysis, but you can apply it also to classification studies. And this, I would say, it would clarify even further which is the importance and the role of these variables. And then, as we were discussing before, I believe that the real improvement can be carried out over the Troodos Mountains, where we didn't have actually, I mean, any training area, and also an extremely limited amount of validation point, independent validation point. But then again, I mean, which is the trade-off, no? So, I mean, do we think that taking up agricultural activities or restoring agricultural activities in the Troodos Mountains could actually be a benefit and also feasible from a labor point of view, or not? No. So if yes, of course, yes, it might be interesting to improve the map over the Troodos Mountains. I mean, if not, most probably the general information that you have already, I mean, with the uncertainties that are declared in the study, it's sufficient. I mean.
Thanks, Corrado. And just one last question for the second part. So I saw the methodology. I'm not sure if I completely understood all the steps that you did, but it's just a general question. Is this methodology can be applied anywhere in the world for this for mountain environments to see the landslides successibility or so on? And
yes,
which is the minimum number of parameters that we need to have in order to apply this method?
Okay, so yes, this is definitely an approach that you can transfer anywhere. So as said, we tested here so the role of this geomechanical predictor. So we had really this huge database of geomechanical surveys, and I wasn't clear about it. So this means going to a specific place where you have a rock mass outcrop and measure the outcrop. No, so coming back home with measured based on the frequency of fracture, orientation of fractures, how open these fractures are, and the resistance of the rock over weathered surfaces or over intact, natural, not weathered rock surfaces. So it really gives you an idea of the state of the rock mass. And we did this landslide susceptibility map here using this type of predictor. But this because we had this database, okay? So I mean this through the years. So in a 20-year period, we collected an extremely huge amount of data. In the other case study, so in Valle d'Aosta, so we didn't have any of this geomechanical data, and so instead of using geomechanical data, we tried to include in the model climate predictors. Okay, so I mean the ideal would be to have something about geomechanics, something about climate, and of course something about geology, geomorphology, and topography. But these are studies that you find throughout the world where researchers actually do the assessment mainly based on the data that they have available. Again, then what is important is that you, I mean, evaluate your results, that you analyze your model output, and you try to quantify the uncertainties, but also to check, as said, the physical plausibility of the model that you are producing. So if, and this is valid for landslide susceptibility mapping, but this can be valid for soil mapping. I don't know, it could be valid for organic carbon content in soils and any other environmental variable or environmental layer that you would like to predict. So yes, it's transferable, and you can and you must evaluate the data that you have available and understand if this data is, let's say, sufficient to describe the physical process that you want your data-driven model to simulate or to reproduce or to mimic, if you want to say.
Thank you very much, Corrado. So if there are no other questions from the audience, I will let you go. So thank you all for being here. Just to inform you that your presentation, Corrado, it will be available on our social media accounts. So,
okay.
And we'll talk. So okay. I don't know if there are any final questions. No. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much to everyone for being here.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Ciao. Ciao. Have a nice day. Bye.
You too.